This took place in an abandoned house in Gunma Prefecture. Some of you may have heard of this house. The abandoned house is known as the Mannequin House. It's a very old Western-style house. For all I know, it's still standing, but I'll never go back there. A lot of people say that no one should go upstairs in that house. There are 2 mannequins upstairs. They're so lifelike, so real. They attack and chase anybody who goes up there. Are they mannequins or people? I think they are people. And there are people who believe that they are mannequins. Who knows? This is my experience in the Mannequin House. My good friend, let's call him A, told me about the Mannequin House. He went there once. He went inside, and he saw one of the mannequins peeping at him from the top of the stairs. Needless to say, he ran for it. When he told me this story, I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to go there. I mean, wouldn't you? A said that he really didn't want to go there again, but eventually I persuaded him. We had a mutual friend who loved dark stuff like the occult and ghost hunting, who we also invited, and we'll call him B. All 3 of us set off for the Mannequin House. A wasn't too enthusiastic in the car, but me and the occult-loving B were so excited. It was dark as we arrived at the abandoned house. Thick trees and weeds grew all over the property and its surroundings. I wasn't scared, because there were normal residential homes close by. The neighborhood looked different. It was like a villa in some rich European city. We headed to the entrance of the house. We climbed over the fence and ignored the "keep out" and "do not enter" signs. The door was unlocked. The key was busted in the lock. Okay, there is no way that I am going to the 2nd floor. As soon as I see a mannequin or anything weird, I'm getting out of here, A said. I'm going up there, B said. If you stare at the mannequin, it'll come and get you, A said. What the hell, that's mad, B said. I read online that a man went there, and he got away because he didn't make eye contact with the mannequins upstairs, A said. I'm fine. I've been to tons of dangerous abandoned buildings and haunted places. Not a problem, B said. Let's get in there already. We went in. We began looking around on the 1st floor. The house was in good condition. It wasn't trashed at all. Even though it was pretty dark, we could see it was well kept. Next, the 2nd floor. We approached the stairs. A said, I am waiting here. I'm not going up there. Fine, wait here then. I'm going up, B said. B began marching up the stairs. I was feeling nervous and on edge. All those stories that A told me about this place was swimming around my head. I followed him upstairs and I heard. I was terrified. I began to run back down the stairs towards A. B, get out of there! I bellowed up the stairs. I just slipped. What's wrong with you? Chicken? I'm fine. It went silent. Then we grew nervous downstairs. We shouted for him. Say something! He screamed again. A shouted, get out of there now! Come downstairs, we're leaving! It was silent for a while. Then B ran downstairs at full speed. We got in the car and we sped away. We went to B's house. We went upstairs to his bedroom. He locked the door, the windows, and pulled the curtains shut. I asked, what happened up there? I saw the mannequin up there. It was like it was staring at me. It had human eyes. I tried to walk past it. It reached out and grabbed my arm. Before I ran for it, that thing upstairs said something. What did he say? I asked. You can't escape now. B was on the verge of tears. I have never heard a voice like that before. We both stayed over his house that night to try and calm him down. He was really shaken up. We were about to go to sleep when we heard something outside the window. Some strange noise. "It's here. It's found me. It said I couldn't escape," he said. "It's okay. We're here with you. We'll keep you safe. The doors are locked. Windows are locked. Everything's fine," I said. I was terrified, but I had to stay calm for his sake. The noise went away, and we fell asleep. We had no problems through the night. Come the morning, A drove me home. The whole journey, he kept silent. I thought, is he still frightened? And then he said, "I don't think I want to hang out with B anymore," he said as we arrived at his house. I was really shocked. "What are you saying?" I asked him. "When we were leaving, I looked at his window and there were handprints all over it." "What? Really?" I asked, astounded. "I think someone or something has marked him, and it's watching him now. It's put its handprints all over him." I was silent. "It's good that it's watching him. I hope it stays that way. If it doesn't, we might be next," he said. I was speechless. Shortly after this, we lost touch with B. He would never answer his phones, and we never saw him. I like to think that he got some help or he moved away. I will never go exploring in a place like that again. This happened when I was a high school student during the summer holidays. My friends and I wanted to make some memories, so we decided to have a barbecue. We set up our barbecue in a field. One of my friends said that there was an abandoned hospital nearby. Because I had never been ghost hunting or anything like that, I was up for checking out the abandoned hospital. We were all pumped up for some late-night urban exploration. We went to inspect the hospital around 11 p.m. I don't know how long ago the hospital was built, but it was really old. It was crumbling down in places. We approached the entrance. My friend said, "Guys, it's easy if we go in a big group, but that's boring. So let's just split up." So we split up into 2 groups of 3. The first group were ready to go in. Then, after a little while, the second group was set to go in. I was in the first group. The atmosphere, even in the entrance, was so heavy. Do you know what I mean? My heart was thundering in my chest. We tried to open the doors, but they were locked. I thought that maybe we could break the door down if we tried, but the other lads didn't fancy it. I decided to look around the perimeter for a weak spot to gain access. I found that one of the walls had collapsed around the back. I could see inside. I let the others in my group know, and we decided to go in. It was humid in there. The air was moist and damp. There wasn't the usual stuff you would expect in an abandoned hospital. No syringes, patient charts, or doctor equipment. The walls were covered in mad scribblings. They didn't make much sense. There were beds, and something was placed on top of one of the beds. Some twisted shape beneath a black cloth. It creeped me out. And there were origami cranes strewn around the place. I thought about why they might be there. Maybe someone put them there for some reason that I don't understand. It was so weird. We crept through the hallway until we came to a room with a closed door. I pushed it open, and that's when we saw it. A doll in front of something like an altar, like a crude offering. The doll was quite big. It was tattered and raggedy. We went closer to it. None of us wanted to be the one who said, "Let's get out of here," but I could tell that my friends wanted to get out of there just as much as I did. There was a cup in front of the doll. There were 2 leaves in the cup. There was a green plate with something black on it. I looked into the doll's eyes. And in that moment, I was terrified. I had to get out of there immediately. We went back to the barbecue area and started to pack our things away. I called one of my friends in the second group to see how they were getting on. Back at the barbecue, my friends and I didn't say anything for a while, until one of them said,
"That altar was really fucked up."
"I hated that doll. It gave me such a weird feeling," I replied.
"Was it an offering of some kind?"
he asked. We all saw the doll in the first group, but no one in the second group saw the doll. Perhaps there were other things in there like that. Other weird offerings. It was honestly the strangest place I've ever been. By next week, all three of us who saw the doll ended up with an injury. I broke my little finger in PE. My friend got into a moped accident and broke his toe. And my other friend got into another accident involving a moped. He crashed. He was in the hospital for days. The teacher asked us, while laughing, "What's happened to you three? Are you cursed or something?" We felt it was no laughing matter. Even to this day, that abandoned hospital still stands. It hasn't been demolished yet. But a sign that reads, "Keep out," has been put up, and a large metal fence surrounds it. Don't go looking for it. Don't go in there. My hobby is fishing. Sometimes when I'm targeting a certain kind of fish, and that fish is more active at night, then I have no problem with being out all night fishing. Luckily in my town, there aren't many places where you are prohibited to fish. There are popular fishing spots around, so when I am fishing alone, I don't get particularly worried or frightened, even at night, because every now and then, another angler will turn up. I had been fishing in the same spots for years. I wanted a change. I wanted to find a new place. It gave me a thrill, discovering a new spot and the chance of catching something new. Walking around, relying on my headlamp alone for light in the dark, it was peaceful. Until one night. I spent a couple of hours searching for a new place to fish online. I finished work that day, around 5 p.m. I had all my tackle and gear in my car, and I was ready to go straight after work. The night started to draw in as I headed for my new spot. The spot I found was a small embankment located behind an abandoned factory. Because their factory had been abandoned for a number of years, the building was dilapidated and in decay. Parts of the building had collapsed, and weeds grew high all around it. It was difficult to make my way through the grounds. It was hard to see where I was going. There were no streetlights in this area. I had to rely on the use of my headlamp as I groped through the weeds towards the embankment. I pushed through the weeds and the brush until suddenly it ended with a sharp drop-off into the water below. I nearly fell in. I had reached my destination. I could see the embankment. I found a gap in a fence. The "Do Not Enter" sign was covered in rust. The width must have been about a meter. I crept through the gap. I could finally see the whole bank. It was then, for the first time, I saw it. A silhouette of something. A human. He looked like he had beige workman clothes on. He looked middle-aged, approaching elderly, a working man. He was sat on a blue cooler box with a rod in his hand. It was a narrow spot. I took the initiative. It's just manners, isn't it? No matter where you are. I decided to approach him and strike up some small talk. "Good evening. How's it going?" He didn't react. He didn't move. He didn't reply. I was only about 15 meters away from him. I would have expected him to have heard me. I thought it was strange that he didn't respond. It wasn't like I mumbled or anything. His silhouette was dark. I couldn't clearly see him at times. I felt a bit anxious for a moment, but not that worried. I started to think that my eyes were playing tricks on me. Anyway, my purpose of going there was to fish, not to make friends, so I didn't care. He wasn't going to ruin my night. I started to fish. I was concentrating. About an hour passed before I realized. I focused on my rod, watching the sea level, watching my lures. It was as if there was nothing else there but me and my hobby. It was March, and it was an early spring that year. It was really warm, even at night. I started to sweat all over. I couldn't stand the heat anymore. I went to take my life jacket off so that I could take my shirt off. And then I noticed something strange. The man disappeared. Not just him, but his cooler box and his rod too. Just the darkness was left where he had been. He disappeared. Did he fall in the sea or something? I rushed to the edge and peered down, my headlamp's light illuminating the dark water. The sea was calm. There was no trace of him. It wasn't even 10 o'clock, but thick fog had rolled in, almost suddenly. I sensed something wasn't right. I began to panic. I was scared. I started to sweat. Then shivers crept up my spine. I was all mixed up. I didn't want to see him again. I didn't want anything to happen to me. I heard strange gurgles coming from the water, and that was too much for me. I couldn't bear to be there anymore. I ran as fast as I could. I pushed my way through the weeds until I finally arrived at my car. If I continued fishing as if nothing happened, the thick fog would have enveloped me. I might have even lost my footing and fell in the sea. In fact, I wondered if that's what happened to that man. When the thought occurred to me, I shuddered in my car. Since this incident, I have quit going to strange places, no entry zones, especially at night. However good it sounds or whatever fish might be there, I'll make sure to scope it out in daylight instead of at night. By the way, when I told a co-worker about what had happened, he told me the reason it was fenced off from the public was because a fellow angler died there. He drowned on a foggy night. My name is Risa. I live in the suburbs of Tokyo. This happened when I went to a local supermarket. It usually takes me about 10 minutes to get there. It was dusk. It seemed to get dark a bit earlier than usual. I used a shortcut. There was no pavement. It was just a dirt road. I always use this shortcut. There was a yellow sash swinging from a tree. As I drew closer, I was able to read it. "Keep out," it read. It was hanging down to the side. I had to have a look out of curiosity. I didn't see anything wrong. Why the keep out sign? The path beyond the sign wasn't rampant with weeds or shrubbery. It looked perfectly well maintained. I stepped over the sash. I wanted to get to the supermarket before it closed. I thought maybe someone put up the sash because an old tree might be close to falling down or something. I was a bit frightened as I imagined a tree falling on me. I convinced myself that it wasn't going to happen though. Pushed those thoughts aside, as I knew that it would only take me about 1 minute to get to the supermarket if I used the shortcut. I took another step. My head felt heavy. I felt uneasy. Everything around me seemed blurry all of a sudden. I wanted to turn back. Something felt wrong. As I hesitated, I knew that I had no food in my fridge, and I was working the next day. It couldn't be helped. I had to continue. I advanced slowly. My vision was hazy. I felt so bad. Something definitely wasn't right. I saw something. A Jesus statue. I pass it every time I used this shortcut, but today I was unusually aware of it. It was knee-high, by the side of the dirt path. I don't know its origin or how long it's been there. Maybe it's been there for years. Its head was missing. Chills crept up my spine. My back shuddered. I don't think nature can break a stone head off. Somebody must have done it. Something was definitely wrong here. I felt as if I couldn't walk past that thing. Instinctively, I turned back the way I came, and as I spun myself around, I saw an elderly man sat in the path. He had a hunched back, some sort of strange curvature in his spine. He had white hair. But his face seemed somehow childlike. He was cradling something in his arms, and had an expression of continence. No pupils in his eyes. "I can't protect you anymore," he said. I carefully walked past him, back the way I came. The keep out sash still hung aimlessly to one side. I looked up, and the tree branch was lined with crows, side by side. Even when I arrived home, I had a strange feeling. I live alone. I realized that I don't know my neighbors. I don't know anybody in the neighborhood. Who put that keep out sash there? I always walk through that shortcut. No idea. Of course, what I saw is most likely a hallucination, but that keep out sash is still hanging up there on the tree. What are the people in this area up to? I have a terrible feeling that something's going to happen to me. I've started to look for somewhere new to live.